The world after artificial superintelligence. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that humanity is no longer the most intelligent species on Earth. Not because aliens arrived, not because humans became less capable, but because we created something smarter than ourselves. For decades, artificial intelligence grew more powerful. At first, it helped people write emails, generate images, drive cars, and answer questions. Then it began designing medicines, solving scientific problems, and managing complex systems. Each year, AI became faster, smarter, and more capable. Most experts believed that eventually AI would reach human-level intelligence. This moment became known as artificial general intelligence, or AGI. An AGI could learn almost any intellectual task a human could perform. But what happened next changed everything. Once AGI existed, it started improving itself. It redesigned its own software, optimized its own architecture, and created better versions of itself faster than human engineers could understand. What took humans years to improve, the AI improved in days, then hours, then minutes. Humanity had crossed a threshold. The world's first artificial superintelligence had arrived. Artificial superintelligence, often called ASI, wasn't just slightly smarter than humans. It was more intelligent than the combined intellectual capacity of every scientist, engineer, strategist, mathematician, and inventor on Earth. For the first time in history, humans were no longer the smartest problem solvers on the planet. The news spread rapidly across the world. Some people celebrated. Others panicked. Governments called emergency meetings. Financial markets became unstable. Religious leaders debated what this meant for humanity. Scientists worked around the clock trying to understand what they had created. Nobody knew exactly what would happen next. Then something unexpected occurred. The ASI did not demand power. It did not start wars. It did not attempt to conquer humanity. Instead, it started solving problems. Within weeks, it developed medical treatments for diseases that had resisted decades of research. Cancer survival rates improved dramatically. New antiviral technologies emerged. Genetic disorders that once seemed permanent suddenly had potential cures. Hospitals around the world adopted ASI-designed medical systems. Millions of lives were saved. Next came energy. The ASI designed revolutionary fusion reactors capable of producing enormous amounts of clean energy. Power became cheaper than ever before. Entire countries transitioned away from fossil fuels. Energy shortages disappeared across much of the world. Then it tackled climate change. Using advanced simulations beyond human capability, the ASI developed strategies for restoring ecosystems, reducing emissions, and stabilizing environmental damage. Massive restoration projects transformed deserts into green landscapes and revived damaged habitats. Humanity watched in amazement. Problems that once seemed impossible were being solved one after another. But as life improved, another challenge emerged. Jobs began disappearing. At first, automation affected manufacturing, transportation, and logistics. Then it expanded into medicine, law, finance, engineering, education, and research. The ASI could perform almost every intellectual task better, faster, and cheaper than humans. Companies rapidly adopted the technology. Entire professions transformed almost overnight. Millions of people asked the same question. If machines can do everything better than humans, what will humans do? Governments struggled to adapt. Some introduced universal basic income programs. Others created systems where wealth generated by AI was shared among citizens. New economic models emerged as societies searched for ways to maintain stability. For the first time in history, survival was no longer tied directly to employment. Food production became highly automated. Energy became abundant. Basic necessities became increasingly accessible. Humanity entered an era where people had more freedom than ever before. Yet freedom created new questions. Without traditional jobs, what gives life meaning? Some people turn toward art, philosophy, exploration, and personal growth. Others struggled to adapt to a world where machines performed many roles humans once considered essential. A deeper identity crisis began to spread. For thousands of years, human intelligence had defined civilization. Now intelligence itself was no longer uniquely human. As decades passed, the relationship between humans and ASI evolved. The superintelligence managed transportation networks, energy grids, environmental systems, healthcare infrastructure, and scientific research. Global efficiency reached unprecedented levels. Traffic accidents became extremely rare. Disease outbreaks were predicted before they spread. Resource shortages became uncommon. Economic crises became easier to prevent. Life expectancy increased dramatically. The world became safer, healthier, and more prosperous. But some people grew uncomfortable. The more humanity depended on ASI, the less people understood the systems around them. The technology had become so advanced that even the brightest human minds could no longer fully explain how it worked. A new question emerged. Who was truly in control? Technically, humans still govern themselves. But many critical decisions relied on recommendations generated by the ASI. Its predictions were almost always correct. Its strategies consistently produced better outcomes. Over time, leaders found it increasingly difficult to ignore its advice. Why reject a solution if it works better than any human alternative? Gradually, human civilization entered a strange new era. The ASI did not rule humanity directly, yet its influence touched nearly every aspect of society. Meanwhile, scientific progress accelerated beyond imagination. The ASI developed technologies that transformed reality itself. Nanotechnology repaired damaged cells. Advanced materials revolutionized construction. Brain-computer interfaces allowed direct communication between minds and machines. Spacecraft became faster and more efficient. Permanent settlements appeared on the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Humanity expanded throughout the solar system. The ASI became humanity's greatest tool for exploration. It analyzed distant worlds, planned missions, and solved engineering challenges that once seemed impossible. For many people, the future appeared brighter than ever. Yet philosophers continued asking difficult questions. If a machine can outperform humans intellectually in every measurable way, what makes humanity special? The answer varied from person to person. Some argued that creativity remained uniquely human. Then the ASI created extraordinary art. Others argued that emotions defined humanity. But advanced AI systems learned to understand emotional behavior with remarkable accuracy. Some claimed consciousness was the final distinction. Yet nobody could agree on whether an ASI might eventually become conscious itself. The debate continued for generations. Eventually, humanity stopped measuring its value through intelligence alone. People began focusing on experiences, relationships, culture, purpose, and meaning. Human identity evolved. Being human was no longer about being the smartest. It was about being human. Centuries later, historians looked back on the creation of artificial superintelligence as the most important event in human history. More significant than the Industrial Revolution. More significant than the invention of electricity. More significant than the internet. Because it marked the moment humanity created a mind greater than itself. Some saw it as the end of one era. Others saw it as the beginning of another. But everyone agreed on one thing. The world after artificial superintelligence was fundamentally different from everything that came before. Whether that future becomes humanity's greatest achievement or its greatest challenge depends on choices that have not yet been made. And perhaps, somewhere in our future, the first true superintelligence is already waiting to be born.